being fought as a war between the United States and Europe and Russia, and everybody's fighting to the last Ukrainian. This should not be allowed. It's crazy that people who aren't Ukrainians are in a position to destroy Ukraine. It's horrible. So my first interest, how do we get this to stop? But I understand that there are differences of opinion. I think for Ukraine at this point, they have a terribly difficult situation, because if they don't help bring this to an end, I don't think there will be a Ukraine. Between what the Russians will do, and look, I'm no military expert. I don't pretend to be, but as a lay person who knows about Europe, who studies Europe, I speak European languages. I always have. Ukraine is not winning this war. Russia is, which shouldn't come as a surprise, because Russia is a very big, powerful, rich relative to Ukraine, which isn't those things. So this should surprise no one. And I think what really Ukraine has to decide, if you want to survive, you have to be able to be the agent of peace here. You have, in a way, a good political, moral argument. You're dying. Your people are suffering. Your country is being destroyed. You want it to stop. That's a very difficult argument, either for Russia or for the United States or for China. What are they going to do? Say no? But what you have is a leader, Mr. Zelensky, and I assume he speaks for a significant part of Ukrainian public opinion. He wants to keep fighting. He actually thinks that he, with the support of the West, can regain all the territory in the eastern part of Ukraine, including the Crimean Peninsula that Russia took earlier. The Russians have said in every way that I can understand, they won't do that. And Russia has nuclear weapons. I wish they didn't, but they do. And that you can't pretend that that's not there. They have said that this is an existential threat. All right. So for me, some deal has to be made here. I hope that the deal allows Ukraine to enjoy end of the war and to have at least a large part of what its territory was. Is they're going to have to give Russia something, but it's not clear what that something is. The West wants us to think, well, they'd have to give up their land. Well, the Russians might accept to take a certain part of the Ukraine, make it Russia. They've already done that with the 4 little sections of eastern Ukraine that they have declared are now Russia. Maybe they'll take that. But you might give them something else. Don't give them eastern Ukraine. Keep that Ukraine, but give the Russians something else they want. For example, reopen the market in Western Europe. Let the Europeans get cheap oil and gas from Russia like they have been doing for decades. That would be very good for the European economy. They would now be able to compete because the energy cost to produce everything would come down dramatically. Russia would be very happy to have again the cheap, the ability to sell massive quantities of energy indefinitely to Europe. Maybe a deal could be worked there that the Europeans get something they need and want, cheap food, cheap energy. The Russians get something they want, a market for their energy, a market for their food. Ukraine gets what it wants, territory back. It regains as much as possible of the territory lost to the Russian military over the last year and a half. But in order for this to happen, Mr. Zelensky has to be able to get up and say, that's what I want. But of course, that will make the United States and Western Europe angry.
Brazil.